Welcome to Season 2 of Around and Around the OCD Circle podcast. My name is Elizabeth, and I have been living with obsessive-compulsive disorder for over 60 years. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. Each week, I will document my struggles and successes while having OCD. I will also speak with ordinary people, just like yourself, from around the globe, who have graciously agreed to share their OCD stories with you. I feel certain you will relate to some or all of their experiences. If at any time you feel like hurting yourself or ending your life, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 if you are in the United States. It is open 24 hours a day, and you will be connected with the nearest crisis center to receive immediate counseling and local mental health referrals. Now, on to today's episode. Good morning, everyone. Season 2 got off to a great start with my conversation with David Albert Cole. I wanted to let you know about some of the shows coming in the near future. I have a few new interviews dropping in the next few weeks, one with a young woman named Kur, and another conversation with Josh Kirschenbaum. Both have been willing to share their OCD journeys with you. If you would like to share your journey with obsessive-compulsive disorder, please message me at any of my social media links below. In another episode, I will be talking to you about what led me to decide after more than 40 years to quit therapy for my OCD. I am so excited to have Janaya Karloci back on the podcast. Janaya, a naturopath living in Australia, was gracious enough to return for a second conversation with me. In this episode, she briefly summarizes her obsessive-compulsive disorder, and then we jump right into her new adventure as a naturopath, who is helping others learn what she has learned, which are ways to manage stress, anxiety, and OCD with natural herbs, supplements, diet, and exercise, and a whole lot more. If you haven't yet heard my first conversation with Janaya, you don't want to miss it. The link to that episode is in the show notes. I hope you enjoy today's conversation. Hi, Janaya.
Hi, how are you?
I'm, I'm so glad to see you again.
Thank you, me too.
It's been, 6 or 8 months since we talked
Yeah, it has
last?
been about that. Yeah,
Something like
6 months,
that.
I think.
So, for my listeners, if you haven't yet listened to Janaya's OCD story on my podcast, you don't want to miss it. It was one of my highest ranked episodes on my podcast. So, but I'm going to approach today's conversation as if you haven't heard Janaya's story so that you can get to know her a little bit better. And so, Janaya, how are things going with you
Yeah, good.
with your OCD?
Really good, actually.
Really good?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you just give the folks just a brief summary of what we talked about last time, like when you found out you had OCD and
Yeah, sure.
what type of OCD you have?
Sure. So, I found out I had OCD probably about 2 years ago now. I think I had it for 20 years before that, and it slowly got worse over time. So about 2 years ago, I was listening to a podcast where I heard a woman speak about her experience with OCD, and that's when I really felt like there was something there. Like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe there's I have a disorder. That's why I think the way I think. So at that point, I was, I was really bad. I don't know if I had one theme, but my themes always seem to be around, I was scared of something happening that would take me away from my family. So whether I left a plug on and it caused a fire and our house would burn down, and that would cause conflict in my family, and then my family would break up. Or like towards the end, something that was really upsetting for me was I kept thinking that I maybe accidentally hit someone in the car and then drove off, like a hit and run. Um, so I would go back and check and check and check and check and just would never believe myself. And even still, after checking 5 or 6 times, I would come home and be checking the news reports and making sure I hadn't done something, and then preparing, like my compulsions with that, and then also preparing for what I would say. I wasn't so worried about having actually hit someone. Had I hit someone, I would have done the right thing. But I was worried that I might not have known that I've done it, if that makes sense. It was very confusing. It was causing me a lot of stress. I was spending hours and hours a day doing compulsions. And then, so sorry, to cut a long story short,
Well, just from what I remember of the conversation, OCD was trying to rob you of any joy
was,
whenever you were feeling too good or excited for some kind of event or some time off with your family.
yeah, it
You
was,
automatically were thinking that something was going to happen to keep that joy from happening. Is that
that's
correct?
right. So it was always worse on a Friday night before the weekend, spending time with my family. It was always worse
Hmm.
before a great event or if we were going on holiday.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I can remember so many times being at the park with my children and just dreading it. Like it was just like, oh, I can't feel too much happiness because this could all be taken away from me in a minute.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's where I was at. And then I heard this podcast. It forced me to reach out to find a therapist that specialized in OCD. And from there, I met with her. We started therapy. She diagnosed me straight away. We started therapy. I was doing therapy for about a year. About 3 months in with the exposure response prevention therapy, I found it too tough to let go and do what I needed to do. So I went and saw a psychiatrist and we started on medication. At that point, I was seeing my therapist every week. After about 6 months, when the medication started to take effect as well, I guess, I started seeing her every 2 weeks. And then eventually, after a year, we decided that I could manage it on my own. And it's been a year and a bit now, and I have been managing it on my own. And I was reflecting last night from the last time that we spoke, which was about 6 months ago. And I thought that I was, managed. I could manage my thoughts and my compulsions. But compared to where I was then to now, it's like I almost don't even have the thoughts anymore. I think my brain is just so used to going, oh, go away thought, So, yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Janae, I'm so happy for
thank
you
you.
and for your
Yes,
family.
and for my
And
family.
so and so today we're going to talk about something exciting because you are on a new
I
adventure
am.
in your career, in your profession. I want you to tell the folks like what kind of certification you received. Janaya lives in Australia, by the way. So if you live in Australia, I believe you can seek out Janaya's services
Yeah.
as long as you are in Australia. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's actually everywhere in the world. I'm able to see you except the US and Canada, which is
Okay, there
unfortunate.
you go. It is.
Um,
But what I was thinking is that if someone's based in the United States or Canada and they listen to this episode and you talk about what you do, if they hear something that you say that sounds like maybe they'd want to try it, they can find someone in their country or in their state who does about what you do and say, "Hey, I heard about this herb or this, what supplement or whatever. Um, is this something that I should
yeah,
try?" Okay. So
definitely.
Janaea can give you some great ideas And the majority of my listeners are based in the United
Yeah.
States. My second greatest one is Australia, though. So, second highest listenership is Australia. So,
Yeah. So if you are
anyway.
in the States and you hear something, I mean, I don't know much about naturopathic doctors, but I've been doing a lot of extra training with some functional psychiatrists. And they are psychiatrists who also use herbs and nutrients and diet and lifestyle as well as medication. So I
Mhm,
guess, you could look up a functional psychiatrist in your area and they would be able to help
mhm,
you.
mhm. So, what is the type of certification that you
So
received
for me,
over there? What is it?
I did a Bachelor of Health Science, which
Mhm,
majored in naturopathy. So that's
mhm,
naturopathy is a holistic healing system. It uses herbs, it uses nutrients, it uses dietary and lifestyle modifications. And it's all about trying to find the root cause of of ill health, basically. So um, it likes to take the symptoms away, but also look for the root cause. So there's a lot of, I would generally recommend testing. There's lots of functional tests that you can do to find those root causes. For example, some things that I've learned recently, like low cholesterol. We always hear about high cholesterol, but low cholesterol can be associated with um, compulsive behavior and anger issues and depression. So, that's like a minor test that you could get done, and that could be playing a role for you. Or you can have high iron or low iron. A doctor I've been listening to calls it the Goldilocks nutrient, because it's got to be just right, because either way it can cause symptoms. So things like that, they're just a few little ones. And then, yeah, so part of my healing experience and now what I am trying to teach to my clients is looking for ways that we can try and relieve like the stress associated with compulsions. I like to, ideally I like people to work with a therapist as well as me, because I feel like it's another tool in the toolbox, if that makes sense. So,
mhm,
your therapist will take you through the exposure response prevention therapy. And then I would work with the client to kind of support their stress response, to help them in that moment of, am I going to compulse or not? And just try and like ease their overall stress, their overall anxiety. And yeah, I mean, it comes down to as well just exercise, making time for yourself, doing things that you love to do, filling your cup of joy, so to say, as well as being strong. I mean, it's very hard going through exposure prevention response. I can't even say it properly, ERP.
yeah,
um,
ERP. Erp.
yeah. So people with OCD, we expend so much energy on stressing out and anxiety, basically. So we just need to give ourselves what we put out.
Mhm. Were you interested in this field before you were diagnosed, or is this something that came up after you were
No,
diagnosed?
I was really interested in this from quite a young age. I
Mhm,
had good experiences with naturopathy when I was a child. I used to get frequent tonsillitis, um,
mhm,
which, now knowing what I know, that may have played a role in the production of my OCD. But that's another whole story. But
mhm,
I saw a naturopath, and basically, since I saw a naturopath and we did the work, I have never had tonsillitis again. And I was getting it every, I was on antibiotics and going through this numerous times a year. So that was a big thing for me.
Did they take your tonsil? Did they take your tonsils out?
No,
They did. Oh, they
no.
didn't. Okay.
Whereas
Hmm.
today, I think they're more likely to take it out. But I was in that era.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
born in that era where it was like, no, leave them in, leave them in. So,
Hmm.
um, I
My brother had his tonsils taken out at the age of 2
wow,
and his
yeah,
adenoids because he was convulsing so often
wow,
that that was not done back then at that young, but they didn't know what else to do for
yeah.
him.
I mean, today they take them out quite easily. It's
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so where was I going with that? Oh, so I had a good experience with naturopathy, and I think I've always been a person. I've always wanted to help other people, and I don't know. I like the science of it. It was just something I was really interested in, and it's just so happens that as I was finishing my degree, I was going through all this, and I started implementing it in my own life, and I saw how much it helped alongside everything else. That I decided, this time last year, I could not imagine having a naturopathy practice because of my OCD. I was too concerned about what happens if I miss this or what happens if I miss that, and I something will happen, and I'll get put in jail, for example, and being taken away from my children. Whereas
Mhm.
now I'm like, no, I have a gift here, and I need to share it with the world because
Mhm.
I mean, you and I, we have OCD, and the amount of times it is misrepresented and thrown in the corner with, oh, yeah, anxiety and also, yeah, OCD. Like they're very different. And something that I've made part of my business is OCD always comes first. So, yes, I also look at other areas of the mind, depression and anxiety. But if I'm writing something for people, OCD comes first. And I think that's
Mhm.
the way it should be because it's a horrific
Mhm.
condition.
Mhm. So, do some of your clients not have OCD? They just have other issues, other.
Yes. And I'm helping them
Okay.
all. And it's great. But
Uh-huh.
there's a
Mhm.
big push in me I really want to OCD awareness, right? It's so important. It
Right.
literally saved my life.
Mhm. And it's still stigmatized and it's still joked about and it's still not taken seriously over here in the United
Yeah.
States.
And I think you guys have come along. You have. We all do. And I think the US, like the training that I do out of the US, they are so much more ahead than Australia. It's very difficult
Mhm.
to find anyone here that's specializes in OCD. So it's great.
Mhm.
Like we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, well, we have a long way to go in the social
Oh, the social
arena,
aspect.
though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very difficult.
So, yeah. So just take me through. I'm a
Yep.
client. I mean, you can use me as an example if you want to. Now, I will tell you that since we last talked, I am no longer in therapy.
Okay.
So that was a big deal for me because I was in therapy over 20 years
Wow.
and actually probably over 30 years, but over 20 with the same person. And I have an episode that will be coming out about that, why I quit therapy. And so that's one thing that I don't have right now.
Okay.
Um,
And how are you going?
you know, but I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's weird because sometimes I say to myself, "Oh my gosh, it's coming back. Oh my gosh, I'm not over this." Because I am at the very end of an OCD spell. I don't know if you remember, but I'm obsessed with a single person
Yeah.
at one time. This one's been going on for 6 years, and I'm at the very end, and it's really the thoughts are now calming. They're not scary or worry, just calming. So I just keep going with the flow. And but every once in a while, I have a really bad day and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's coming back. Oh my gosh, it's coming back." But then it never goes anywhere.
That's good.
My therapist told me in one of my last sessions with her that it's kind of like a ritual in my head when I say that. Oh my gosh, it's coming back. Because I'll say to myself, I just want to talk to her. I just want to talk to her. And I said, why would I want to talk to her? I never talk to her. I don't even have her phone number. Like, why would I say that? Why would I not say, I want to call my best friend or I want to call my mom? And she said, it's a ritual and it calms you. And so I've gotten so used to having OCD thoughts that it's almost like it's calming me to say it's coming back. If that makes sense. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, no,
But
it
other than
does.
that, I'm doing fine,
That's good. I do
you know.
believe, like, I really feel like OCD as well. Like, it is a bit of a routine type of thing. And I'm sure that for me, that's why it got worse over time. The more you repeat a habit, the more it becomes the way you live your life, right? So I totally understand that. And
Yeah, so then when it's not there and you're not doing it, it doesn't feel
it
right.
doesn't feel right. Yeah.
But you don't want it to be
Yeah.
there. That's why you've worked all this time to get rid of it
That's it.
and it's gone and you're just like, okay, this is strange. So I'm 62 years old. Um, are there some things that I should be doing like preventative that you would suggest for me? Um, I mean, do you do preventative work at all? Or are you basically working
I
with
mean,
there's an issue?
preventative care is what we do best. But
Hmm.
as you know, most people only come for help when they're at their wits' end and it's over. So
Right.
it's
Hmm.
it's difficult to. We don't get a chance to do much preventative work. Put it that way.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but definitely, like I know for my children, for example, obviously I have OCD, so I am doing all I can to use nutrients and mindset to them that I feel like will not mitigate them getting OCD, but give them the best chance at not getting OCD.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Well, you don't want them to be
I don't want
stressed.
them
You
to
don't
be
want them to be
stressed.
anxious. You don't want them to be depressed. So,
I don't make them have any extra responsibilities that they don't need to have because my OCD was all about taking on responsibility. So, yeah. So, but
mhm,
for you, for example, I mean, it is very difficult for me to say, oh yeah, take this and take this because I would want to take a
mhm,
thorough um, a
right.
a thorough case study to understand
Hmm.
exactly because that's what we do best. We really listen. Like our
Hmm.
first appointment with the client would be for a minimum of an hour. And we would literally go through from when you were born to now, all your health conditions, your family history,
Hmm.
what you eat, how you respond to
Hmm.
things, if you have any, um, sensitivities, etc., etc. And that's just the beginning. Like, and then there's testing and so
Hmm.
forth. So no two individuals will be treated exactly the same. But in saying that,
Hmm.
there is things like exercise, which is fantastic, even
Hmm.
if it's a walk,
Hmm. Hmm.
eating non-processed food, real food, basically. So fruits, vegetables, meat, um, whole grains, if they agree with you, nothing in a packet. And that can make a huge difference. Another thing that makes a huge difference is getting enough water. I know it sounds so simple,
Hmm.
but so many people don't get enough water, and it can make such a big difference in your life. Your sleep. So, a lot of people with
That's a problem for
that's
me.
a problem for most people with OCD.
Of the one thing you've said so far, sleep is my worst
It
enemy.
is. Sleep can be
Hmm.
very difficult. So with sleep, I mean, there's so many not nutrients, herbs that can assist with sleep. But again, I wouldn't want to recommend anything because it depends on if you're on medication and what might react with what and so forth. But you could probably Google it, but you could like see a nutritionist or a naturopath, and we have great herbs. We got herbs that help you fall asleep. We got herbs that help you stay asleep. We got herbs that make you stop sweating if you sweat all night. We got a herb for everything that comes to
Menopause,
sleep. Yeah, for
menopause.
menopause, for hormonal issues.
Hmm.
We got a herb for everything, basically.
Hmm.
um,
I feel like I'm going through a second menopause at the
oh
moment.
no.
I don't know if there's such a thing, but I had the hot flashes during menopause, and I bought this thing called a chillo.
Okay.
It's a pillow that's
Oh, that sounds
cold,
nice.
and I would lay on it, and sometimes it would be too cold, and you didn't even put it in the refrigerator or anything. It just was naturally cold.
Wow.
And then when I finished menopause, and we moved. I think I got rid of it, and now I'm like, I think I need to get another one because I feel at night like I'm, having hot flashes again, and I'm like, I don't know if there's such a thing, but
How long's it been since the first time?
it's been going on a couple of 10
Oh,
years
wow.
maybe.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I went through menopause pretty early, but maybe I went through it too early. I don't know.
look, a lot of
It
things
may just
race.
be our house.
Yeah,
Like, it could be this where this room is located.
a lot of things racing through my head right now. So, questions I would ask
Mhm.
you if you're a
Mhm.
client is, could there
Mhm.
potentially be something in the house that you are not reacting well to? Is there mold?
Mhm.
Stress, extensive stress
Well,
can cause night sweats.
that that's that's a
Yeah.
given. Yeah.
So there's a
Mhm.
lot of things. I'm not too sure about
Mhm.
double menopause. I've not heard of that, but I have definitely.
Yeah, I know. I have a ceiling fan
Yep.
going on high, and I have a tower fan right next to my side of the bed, and
Wow.
it's not even oscillating anymore. I point it straight at myself on high, and I still wake up in the night and I'm burning up. And
Oh,
I
wow.
can't turn the thermostat down anymore because no one else in the house wants it that cold. So,
Yeah.
but
I've def-
that was just something I was going to say that I don't
I've
know.
definitely heard of and experienced myself night sweats due to like chronic
Mm,
stress. So yeah, so we've got herbs for that as well. But
mm,
also, there's a lot of nutrients that support, B vitamins support your stress response. Again, it's trying to modify that stress. So what could
mhm,
you do to, it's very hard if it's work, you can't necessarily leave your work, but is there something you can do, like go for a walk after work that's going to help de-stress you, or
mhm,
listen to some music, do some yoga, do some deep breathing exercises, listen to some
mhm,
calming music. It's things like
mhm,
this, and I have found over time as well, when it comes to these little activities, they take time, but over time, they help you respond the way you respond to stress. So, you might do it for a week and go, oh, I'm still really stressed. But after a couple of months, you look back and you're like, wow, months ago I would have reacted like this in this situation, but
mhm.
I don't now. So it's things like that.
I know that this is long term. Like, this is when you start with this, it's continuous. But do you see clients indefinitely, or is this something that is short term, seeing you, getting the plan and then leaving? Do they come back and check with you periodically? Because, things change in people's
Things
lives.
change. I mean,
And,
it's hard for me to say because I've only been doing it for 6 months now.
well, that's true.
But
That's true. That was kind
the
of a
way
silly question,
the
but
way that we learn, and the way that I envisage it is, I'll work with someone for a period of time to help. with what they've got going on with them. I would not think to see them indefinitely. It would be we get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I think you're okay. It depends again what's going on with them initially. You know, some people might just be deficient in something and you give them that nutrient and 3 months later they're good. Whereas someone else might have a number of different issues going on. But no, I would generally say I would see my clients 5 times, depending on what's going on, over a period of 3 to 4 months. And then they'll be on their way. But yes, like
And
you
so
said,
does insurance cover that in
no,
Australia?
so it's all out of pocket here.
Okay. And it's virtually, right? You see them
Yeah,
virtually.
just like this. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it's easy. It's good
That's really.
you know, you don't have to leave the house. There's less wasted time.
I think people have gotten used to
I know.
that.
Thanks to,
We've just gotten used to
yeah.
that. So, yeah. Is there something else that you wanted to tell us about what you do, or?
No, not really. Just, I guess, I wouldn't say naturopathy or functional medicine is the only way to go. Like, I'm a big believer in therapy, medication, and then the holistic side as well. So, that's just something I like to say straight up.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
combination.
it's a combination. I don't think, I mean, I've never so far come across, you know, someone taking just medication and they're great to go. I really think it takes
Right.
a toolbox. Like OCD is a
Mm-hmm.
tricky, sneaky condition where it's just you
It
got to
is.
throw it all at it. Like I said, 6 months ago, I thought I was recovered, but you know, I was still talking back to that OCD, saying, "No, leave me alone. I'm not listening to you." You know what I mean? And I think now
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting better. But again, I touch wood because I know these things can come back when you're stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, I don't know if this is okay, but I'm doing a webinar on the stress
Mm-hmm.
response. It's a free
Mm-hmm.
webinar in end of July. I think, yeah,
This won't air before then.
fine. That's fine.
Will it be recorded?
It will be recorded, so I can send you a recording.
So, and then they can play it
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
fact?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so everyone, Janae is going to send me the link, and that will be in the show notes. So, yeah. I'm taking a hiatus for the summer right now, and I'm just recording and giving myself a
Good on
break.
you. I
So,
think it sounds like you need
yeah.
that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I do. So, I do.
Well done.
Yeah, I don't think I realized what I was taking on.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's the thing, right? I think people need to listen to their bodies and just know sometimes you need a
mhm,
break to get there. It's I know
mhm,
I took a lot of time off when I was at my worst, and it really helped me to just get back to me almost. Work
mhm.
out what's
Yeah, I'm coming up on retirement age here in a few
of
years, and
course.
I'm thinking, I can just do this later. I can do this when I retire. I don't have to do this now. I have all these things I want to
Yeah,
do. I'll do them in a few years. I'm
yeah,
really good at putting too much on my plate,
yeah.
and I have my 6th grandchild coming
Oh,
in November.
congratulations.
So thank you. So, 6. I never thought I'd be at 6 by now.
Wow.
So that's a lot. You know, a lot of numbers to keep track of, dates, birthdays. I don't know. It's a good thing I'm an organized
Yeah,
person because I'm afraid I'm going to miss birthdays and all that. So, well, I really appreciate you coming back on. Like I said, your episode was very, very well received, and you're always welcome to come on and talk about anything you want to talk about.
great.
And I'm so happy for you, and and what you're doing. You're helping so many people. And again, if you are in Australia or other countries outside of the United States or Canada and you want to talk to Janaya, I will put her contact information in the show notes. You can get a hold of her and, talk to her and let her know what's going on. And I bet she can help you.
I hope so.
I know she can. I know you can. I have great confidence in
Thank
you.
you.
Wasn't that a fascinating discussion? Janaya is holding another online seminar called Bridging the Gap on October 1st, 2024 at 8:30 p.m. Sydney time. And I will put a link to the registration form below in the show notes, as well as links to her website, Instagram, and mailing list. The links to my social media accounts are also listed below. I wanted to remind you that Around and Around the OCD Circle has a Facebook group. We are a small group, but it is a safe place where you can be heard and understood. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Remember that while OCD cannot be cured, it can be managed, and I am living proof of that. I hope you will join me on Thursday morning for another midweek motivation, and a full episode will be dropping next Monday morning on Around and Around the OCD Circle podcast.